Most likely, what happened, how the report of anything like that, is that I was on the ground and I was slapping the cane against the ground, or I was standing up in pain, slapping the cane against something, or I could have even been straightening the cane. A lot of times I'm slapping it to try to straighten it. I'm trying to bang it to try to get it kind of to the way I like it. So it's either one of those three. I can be noisy, especially when I'm shaky and trying to get up. I'll try to get up like twice, and then I'll just get mad. I'll start banging. I'm like, oh damn it! I'll say fuck or something like that. So that could be what they're talking about, as well as I obviously do get in arguments with my roommate. I try to get him to do, well, what he's supposed to do. I mean, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but there are things I'm doing for him, and I'd like him to do those himself. And that's usually what the argument is about. I'm doing something for him that I would like to stop, but when I stop, it's still there. Like feces on the floor was a big argument. Well, that was a big one. I would clean up somebody else's feces off the floor. I would ask him to do it himself. It would come back. I would harden. It would be there for days. I would do it myself, say, please do it. And that would repeat over and over while I was cleaning up another man's feces. So that was a big argument. So I'm guessing that yelling arguments like that, where I say, you need to do this, and then he yells at me, shut the hell up, I'm tired of you repeating yourself. And then I shut up and it's still there, and it happens and gets bigger and gets drier and darker and all those things. It gets on the wood, and then I have to scrub the wood. Or it gets on all over the toilet and front and the seat, and still there, hardens. And then I yell again and I clean it up, and then I say, you need to do this, and that's how those arguments go. But this never gets real physical. It's not like we beat each other up. Nothing like that. There's never any bruises. There's never any hitting. There's never any punching. There's never any kicking. There's never any biting or anything crazy. Never. I mean, even if I wanted to bite somebody, I would have to gum them, and that would be grosser. That would be a punishment for myself. That's a good way to get sick. Biting somebody with your gums, who you don't know where their hands or nose or face or arm or foot or any of that shit is. That would be a punishment to yourself. You'll be hurting yourself, not them. Especially with no teeth, where you gotta keep in mind, I had to have all my teeth removed because the infections were too much for my nervous system. It was too much. I got like 5 teeth that were rotted and infected. It was spreading to my throat and lungs, and the infections were spreading and no good. And I just got them all removed because my nervous system was twitching. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do my job. I was curled up screaming in pain, not just from the mouth, but my nervous system was going haywire. I was on the floor. I couldn't get out of the fetal position. I was screaming in pain. You can't be like that. So yeah, when I had the opportunity, what I got to admit, my aunt and my father, or my aunt, well, I should call my father's new wife, third wife, or anyways, she's the reason and he's the reason why I got that surgery a year later. When I originally wanted it, they wanted all the money down. I couldn't get a loan from the bank or anything, and I was just working. So there was no way that I could get that much money all at once. And if I was going to continue working and making money, I was going to have to continue just working. So I was kind of stuck in a circle, and I stayed in that circle of pain for a year. After dealing it with myself with opiates, yes, they did get me the surgery I needed, with me paying it back, with the intent that I actually pay it back when I did. I gave over a lot of money. I gave over, I think, about 4,000. It wasn't all the money. I don't think it was. I did call and ask, and they said I paid it all back, but I don't think it was. My estimates were much lower. I know it's over 3,000 or around 3,000 plus, because I know one of the check was 1,600. I know there's a couple 400s and a couple other hundreds. I know I kept on sending my tax returns over, splitting my tax returns in half. I did that one time where I just cut my tax return in half and gave over half. The 1,600 was my whole tax return. So that's kind of how I dealt with it. I just kept on trying to pay it back after. But it was very nice of them to get me the surgery I needed, because after a year of infections and 3 rounds of antibiotics and 2 seizures, oh man, did I need it. Oh boy, did I need it. Plus, I needed like rehab too because after I got the surgery, I had to get off the drugs. I mean, I was using all different types of things to keep going for a good 6 months. I mean, 6 months I used nothing. Then the last 6 months I was using like codeine, Vicodin, and low doses of anything in between. But I had to be very careful by making it in the capsules, like no needles or anything like that. Um, so that was a big problem. That was a relapse. That's not good. And I wanted to add that in there. That's really important to understand. But anyways, yeah, there's no hurting of one another here. I mean, I get hurt a lot. I'm used to getting weird types of abuse. I mean, it isn't like people. Well, actually, no. I have got bricks to the head. I have got robbed. I've been held up at knife point. I've been beaten. I've been hit with rulers. I've had shoes thrown at me. I've been smacked around with a hand. So yeah, and I've been choked too. I've been choked. I've been choked many times. I had my arms pulled on to the point where they really intensely hurt. Yeah, I definitely have experienced abuse, but I'm so used to the physical abuse, I guess, that it doesn't quite bother me. If it did happen to me, I'm able to kind of help people with their anger through it. But the other weird forms of abuse, I'm not good at handling. Sexual abuse, medical abuse, drug abuse, any type of those. I'm just not good at handling it. I don't want anything to do with drugs. If somebody forces a drug into me, I get upset. I do. I don't want any drugs forced into me. And they do like to do that, especially after a seizure. They like to inject you with Ativan or benzodiazepam. And the doctors want to see this in the hospital too. So I get a little upset saying, hold off, hold off, hold off. And they don't want to listen. They just force it right into your arm if you like it or not. You tell them you're allergic to it, it doesn't matter. They just will inject you with whatever they feel like. And then it's pretty dangerous that people are so loose with drugs in this country. I've been drugged against my will. I don't know how many times. I lost count a long time ago, but it's a lot. I've been given extra drugs, extra doses of drugs several times in my life too, more times than I can count. And that's a big problem with me. But as far as my roommate goes and our issue, that's not an issue. That's going to get both of us hurt if that's what you're trying to work with. I mean, there's no way to fix either of those. The best thing to do is for me to get an apartment and fix my neurological disorder, and my roommate to stay here or go into a shelter or assisted living or have monthly visits or some type of assistance where they have an eye on him. That's the best, most likely. Now, putting him in a shelter, that might put some eyes on him, but he won't stay. And most likely me, I'll get killed. So that's why that I think they're trying to put us both in a shelter is because of that weird report. That weird report is the issue.